rooftop solar market in India. Today, we are launching our report, which IEEFA and JMK Research did together on India residential rooftop, which provides a vast trove of solar energy potential. Now, just to set the context, India has set huge targets for solar rooftop of 40 gigawatt by 2022. As of 31st March 2022, we have achieved about 11.8 gigawatt of solar rooftop capacity. And of this, as far as the residential segment is concerned, which accounts for nearly a 17% share. So while the CNI sector has the largest share, and we did few reports on the CNI solar rooftop market, talking about both the technology and the financing trends earlier, and also discussed the headwinds and also the tailwinds, which led to impressive growth by the CNI sector. So we felt that there is a need to also understand the similar kind of trends, both on the technology and also on the financing side, and what different policies are enabling growth in the residential sector, and why it has been slow so far, and what needs to be done further to accelerate the deployment of solar rooftop by the residential sector. So this report discusses about how, with the rising needs for cost savings as well as increasing awareness among consumers, it is likely that we will see an increase in installation in the coming years. So both a strong policy push as well as resurgent market demand is going to drive the growth in the future. Few key developments, which have been very recent developments, which have acting as a tailwind, like the ministry or the government came up with a single national digital portal to simplify the process of rooftop solar installation for residential consumers, which has been, is gonna kind of support further growth in the sector, as well as formalization of a DBT, which is a direct benefit transfer mechanism for subsidy. Some of the other key trends which we observe in this market is availability of holistic rooftop solar solutions, as well as consumer preference for high wattage modules supported with battery storage is further likely to pick more momentum. Lastly, the innovative business models involving discoms also looks very promising regarding demand aggregation benefits. So these are some of the trends which we observe. With this, I'll now hand it over to the JMK research team to share the key findings from the report in much greater detail, and also look forward to the discussion with the eminent panelists. Thank you. Over to you, Jyoti.
Thanks, Vibhuti, for setting the context of the discussion. I will share a quick 5-minute presentation also, which can talk and give some bit of insights on the numbers on this market. I hope my screen is visible. So these are some of the numbers. As per GMK research estimates, we have spoken to a lot of government entities, installers, and we are tracking this market since last few years. So as of March 2022, about 11.7 gigawatt of rooftop solar is added in India. Of this overall market, residential segment comprised nearly 17% share. And if we see on the right-hand side, the chart, which is a year-on-year cumulative installations in the residential rooftop sector, we are seeing that in last financial year 2022, the cumulative capacity of residential sector has reached 2 gigawatt, and we're expecting that next year additional 1.2 gigawatt will be added in the sector. And the majority contributor in last 3 years, I would say, has been the Gujarat market here. So some of the pointers Vibhuti has already shared what are the key market drivers, but I think there is undoubtedly increasing consumer awareness, prospects of electricity bill savings. People are more aware about it. But on the regulatory side, there are some interesting updates, which is the regulatory mandates. So some mandates are given for the new residential projects that are there at the municipality level, at union territory level, as well as state level, where it's mandated a certain size of new residential projects that are there. They are mandated to have rooftop solar as part of that. Then government initiatives, so other than various central and state level subsidies, which are already available since last few years, but we have seen the success cases of Gujarat and how that has been replicated at central level. We still have to see how that will play out going forward. Then the extension of new World Bank credit line, on which I think we have Abhinav here on board to talk, to give a little bit more detail on this. So in terms of, calculations in how a residential rooftop solar will make sense for for top 10 states, we have done this analysis. So here we are comparing the residential grid tariffs, broad tariffs that are there, and what is a typical payback period for a consumer in terms of years. So Maharashtra, for example, where residential tariffs are as high as 8 rupees per unit, without any subsidy support, also a consumer can get payback on its initial investment in around 3 years' time. And if they are able to avail the central financial subsidy, we have not included state subsidies as part of this calculation, only assuming that only they are able to have central subsidy, the payback period can go down to as low as 2 years. In this, here we have taken the monthly consumption of residential consumer for this analysis, about 300 units per month. The capacity, the cost of system that we have taken here is INR 50,000 per kilowatt. Then we have also done a very interesting analysis here, which is doing the state attractiveness index for the residential rooftop market. And we have identified 4 important factors. One of that is electricity cost savings. So which state where the cost savings are higher, the market will have a huge potential. Second is net metering favorability. So net metering across states, most states are providing for, at least for the residential consumers, net metering is provided. But at the end of the year, for any surplus injection, what is payable, not payable, basis that we have rated the states, the leading states. Then the subsidy availability as well as the dispersal. So subsidy is available, central is there, state is there, but the problem is in terms of the dispersal. So which states are good in that terms, basis that we have identified, and the DISCOM ratings for that particular states. So basis that we have done a detailed analysis, this attractiveness index, 1 being the lowest number and 5 being the highest. And clearly you can see the top 3 states which are most attractive states for residential rooftop sector are Gujarat, Haryana, Maharashtra, and Karnataka. Now let's discuss the most, the game-changing, I would say, policy and initiative by the Gujarat government, which has led to significant increase in installations in last few years, and the same model is being tried to be replicated at central level now. So what exactly was this Gujarat Swaraj scheme? And I think we have Vineet also here who can tell us a little bit more details about what made this work. But as per our conversations with some of them, I think the scheme was, the Swaraj scheme was launched in August 2019, and there was a target to set up a 1600 megawatt of rooftop system and covering 8 lakh households by financial year 2022. That was the initial target that was given as part of this. So what strategy the government has taken? There is a 3-step strategy that the government has followed, is to ensure an adequate supply. So they have built a very large base of empaneled EPC contractors that is there. Step 2 is adequate demand. The state government have started executing various consumer awareness initiatives across district levels, city levels, and all, which led to a lot of uptake in these installations. Then end-to-end digitization from registration to subsidy disbursement is also another important factor which was required. And step 4 is the timely dispersal of the subsidy that is available. So as you can see on the chart here, from financial year 2019 to 2022, about 1.2 gigawatt of residential rooftop is already added in Gujarat, and it's impressive in terms of CAGR calculation. If we do from these last 4 years, this growth is about 143%. But there are still some challenges. I think there are a lot of challenges, not some challenges, I would say, in this. And our panelists will be able to add lot of content to it, which is delay in getting the net metering approvals for the residential projects. The suboptimal benchmark cost that has been set up by the state regulators. The mandate of using only domestic modules for projects availing subsidy at times is a deterrent. The increase in system cost due to recent rise in module prices is also a concern. Weak financing support in terms of banks and financial institutions who are providing the support. The project sizes are small. The lack of resale value of the system are some of the key deterrents why the bankers are reluctant or not focusing on this segment as such. And lack of standardized and digitized information that is available specific to the market, this market. And I think with this, may I now like to keep the forum open for our panelists. And I would like to first ask, with the residential consumers, specific to residential consumers. Abhinav, my first question is for you, and then we can take it up with the installers and the manufacturers. What is their viewpoint? But what is the World Bank has recently announced its new credit line. So what is the recent update on that? And how do you think this market is going to? What are your viewpoints specific to this segment? Over to you, Abhinav.
Yeah, thanks, Jyoti. Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. So to your first question, so the current status is that we took this project to board in June. So it was approved by the World Bank board in June this year. And currently we are working with State Bank of India to kind of firm up the product for this specific sector, because the existing line of credit were limited to commercial and industrial segments. We hope that this would be launched soon. One of the major, I would say, consideration is towards the pipeline that we would like to understand, and I'm keenly going to listen to other fellow panelists in terms of what pipeline exists. But internally, what we think this sector would be largely driven by a kind of a retail product, where there are discussions where State Bank of India has existing home loan consumer base of around 40 million consumers, and but of course that's how they would be able to easily market it with the existing home loan consumers. SBI already has a facility or option to give up top-up loans for installing rooftop solar in conjunction with the existing loan. But we are also trying to identify how to make it completely digitalized, and it could be streamlined from the point that the lead is generated to the point that it gets closed. So having least manual intervention, and then kind of having it completely digitalized. So all these things are in the making. We hope that in next couple of months this gets formalized and we are officially able to launch this product. Yeah, but then, as I said, so one of the important consideration is the pipeline part. Yeah, I would stop here. Back to you, Jyoti.
Thanks, Abhinav. So picking on at what Abhinav, I think Shobhit and Gaurav, you are the best people to answer in terms of where do you think this pipeline is? We have seen a success case of Gujarat, obviously in 1 year we can, given the drive is there, the intent is there, the possibility is there. But what are your take? Probably Gaurav, from you we can start. In terms of pipeline, where do you see, and how Amplus has what is the forecast that Amplus has specific to this segment?
There has been a very drastic change in the residential solar segment in the past few years, I would say, in Gujarat being a very prime example of it. Even we started primarily a solar journey with Gujarat, residential solar journey with Gujarat, and took some feedback and thought that we'll take it to the market. So whatever capacity that has been installed, it's going to increase significantly, because residential solar, promotion of residential solar itself is an initiative that is in tandem with the DISCOM's needs as well. Because the residential solar tariff in most states is more or less subsidized power source that is helping discoms reduce their landed cost of electricity, reduce their purchase cost of electricity, the discoms will also promote this scheme going forward. So that gives us a good stepping stone or a good highway that we can assume that residential solar segment is only going to get up from now on. In terms of capacity projections, I'm sure all of us, the panelists, have certain ideas of where we are headed, and we are also ready to be participant in that capacity revolution and promote this brand going forward or promote this segment going forward.
Thank you, Gaurav. Shobhit, any comments from you on this?
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Jyoti. Very good afternoon to all. I think what Gaurav said was quite to the point. Primarily, if you see that the market was till now, before this national portal was launched, has been heavily dependent on the state tenders, which whenever there was a tender, the market used to pick up. And as soon as the tender goes out, the market used to fall down dramatically. And people used to wait because for a consumer, residential consumer, this is not the necessary what they want to have it immediately and or a first thing with which they should buy. So they used to wait. So, but with this national portal thing coming up, it'll at least smoothen the entire process. So, and also you would notice that when even in Gujarat, so they had been one important point, I think, apart from whatever you said, they used to continuously roll out the tenders very fast, frequently. Whereas in other states, if you see the timeline for all these tenders for the next tender coming out, used to be around 6 to 7, 8 months. Even for some states, it used to even go beyond a year or so. So the entire year or the entire period used to go just like that, and the consumer residential market doesn't used to happen at all. There are typical examples like UP. There the tenders, whenever the tender used to come, it used to pick it up and then it used to go down. And if you primarily see the highest number of residential businesses generally happening during the fag end of the tenders as well. So that's how it was driven primarily up and down, up and down. The now because of this fluctuation also, most of the EPC players also used to struggle because, and whosoever primarily working in the residential sector used to struggle because the business also had a lot of fluctuations. The companies were also in this particular tender per se, they have been forced to work on the L1 rates. But as everybody knows that it has been kind of impossible or practically impossible to do at those rates. Government used to fix the rates for the players or the installers, but the supply side was never controlled. In fact, they were more tightened for the players like coming up with the DCR panels and the ALMM coming up now. And because of this lot of supply fluctuation and the lot of constraint, the prices have been going up since last, I think, 2 years or so. And because after COVID, it in fact has gone almost by 60-70% in the panel per se. So these were the challenge by coming up with this national portals. I think this is a welcome move, and I see dramatically changing the entire segment of residential segment per se, because now you don't need to wait for any tender to come up. You can still provide the subsidy to the customer. I think psychologically it made more sense to the consumer that they are getting. One part was that they're getting subsidy. Another part was that they're doing it through some trusted partners by the discoms, which generally, if you're going as a new player and trying to do it as a outside player, they used to doubt that who's going to check, who's going to verify the systems. However, in this particular segment, there was the discoms used to come. There was a tender conditions which used to be, you need to fulfill that, even technical and commercial both. So that is what has been driving this entire residential market. And Gujarat is one such example where the disbursement was so fast, the installation and the net metering they ensured that the net metering are done on a fast track as compared to the other states. And I think another reason why it was slow in other states was because of net metering was a challenge in most of the states. If you see, the discoms were not 100% supportive, but the supply constraint used to be there in many of the parts. That's how it has been driving, and the fixed prices, of course, because if you want to actually give it some good quality products to the customers, we are not allowed to do so. However, with this coming up, I think this is the entirely thing gonna change in the residential sector. And answering to Abhinav's point, now, so this entire all state residential market will, I think, is gonna go up, because everywhere people have understood after COVID that the prices, as the prices have gone up, and they have been spending a lot on power, electricity, and the awareness part, because now you see that the neighborhood has installed solar, so you know that the benefit are being accrued by them, and they're getting it. So because of that awareness, people are coming forward to get the solar installation done for their houses as well. So from the pipeline perspective, I think it's now more becoming a pull factor, as compared to earlier when we used to go and push for solar. We used to explain why solar you should go for, and what is solar and why you should go for solar. Now it is coming up to how can I go solar. So one part is still that is struggle. I think you also pointed out regarding financing of the residential sector, the consumers. That still needs to be answered. After that, if that can be, taken care, as Abhinav said, as a digital journey of the consumers where they can easily avail the financing option, it is gonna grow on exponential path. That's what I believe. Yeah.
Thanks, Shobhit, for your insights. But I want to understand here, a follow-up question to what you and Gaurav have just said. So right now the market is all, I would say the majority of the market is tender-driven market. That is what we have seen and we are saying. But after this national portal, do you think that is no longer be a tender-driven market? Anyone can come, how that is going to, probably some insights on that for the benefit of the audience, how those things will work, also, second question, a follow-up, other than the tender market, you would have tapped, other segment also, the non-tender driven market. What growth you have seen there? What are the new trends you have seen in that market also? Gaurav, maybe you would like to take it up?
Yes. So essentially, if we understand from the point of view of a consumer, like Shobhit also mentioned, solar is not a product that is urgent or a life-saving product or something that one must have at that particular point in time. So there's always a back of the head need that, okay, solar, if I install solar, it will be good for me, but there's no urgency for it. What the tender market did was provide an urgency in the entire thought process. It was that there is a deadline that needs to be done and you're getting some benefit or some financial claim out of it. So if I'm able to do it at this time period, I am good to go rather than wasting and losing an opportunity. So that really benefited us from the sales. However, having said that, a lot of our business was in the non-subsidy segment as well. But we saw very similar and interesting trend that when the tenders are active, even the non-subsidy projects that we are doing, where the people want a better technology or people want a higher wattage of panels that are not available under the tenders, the sales for that also go up, because there is a general awareness that the DISCOM is doing, or there are people that are talking about solar. Solar is part of the conversation that is happening. Now, once the national portal is launched, now there are still some nitty-gritties that are being worked on while we speak, but for all practical purposes, it is active. There was a lot of chatter around the national portal when it was launched. Now, because the nitty-gritties are being solved, there is still a little bit of that chatter dying down. And the state tenders have also regained their activeness in certain states. Specifically, if I talk about Haryana has regained its effectiveness for the state subsidy. Karnataka has also come up with the state subsidy portal. There we can see that again the push for non-subsidy projects has also started to increase. So tenders, I don't mean by tenders as something that just the subsidy is something that is attractive, but during that atmosphere, there's a lot of awareness that is happening. Awareness in very simple levels that the government also suggests solar in their electricity bill that goes to the consumer. So something as simple as that, suggesting that something like this is available to the consumer is also aiding and abetting the solar journey. But why would the discom continue to do so when there are no direct benefits attached to it? Or why would the state governments try to promote it? That is the question that we need to answer. But we believe is that once we continue with our approach and awareness, there will be a network effect that kicks in. And if enough people have installed solar, and then no matter the tender is going on, the subsidy is going on or not, people will continue to install solar because that will become sort of something like an habitual thing that everyone has to have. Like you would say someone in a society, a security guard is essential. Similar to that, if you're having a society and there is rooftop space available, a solar is essential commodity and it is just a second nature. And it just means to supply the best provider that can give you that. So that is the my experience that has been with the subsidy and non-subsidy market. Shobhit, please feel free to add whatever if I've missed out on it.
Of course, Gaurav, you're absolutely bang on the point that the way subsidy has driven and actually created the awareness in the market was tremendous. Because if I still remember when the Solar Energy Corporation of India had released a tender in 2017 or so, the people were not completely aware of the solar at all. And as soon as it started growing and picking up the market, the awareness was very, very high. And similarly, it happens in all the states as well. Whenever the tender was coming, people used to get the awareness used to happen. And discoms used to support in that a lot because they started promoting solar and that awareness and spreading the awareness all around. So and another point which you rightly said, the free market or where the customers are typically looking for a high value or a high or I don't know, better technology products, which they are not able to avail in the under the tender conditions, were also started picking up. Because there used to be a very clear cut comparison between both the products and the value we are able to show it to the customers as well. Whereas whenever there is no subsidy available, they were not able to imagine. And also the prices, the way the prices have been coming out in the tenders used to play a very big role why the solar market was not did not grow as exponential as it should have been. The prices fell down, but I think to the core, everybody knew that the prices were not the prices at which anybody can work because we have a cost of acquiring customers. And when you go out and do spread awareness, it's very expensive. So everybody knew that it is not happening. So people also used to start pushing out the better technology products, and everybody in their own sense try to give the better product to the customer so that the customers do not complain later on that the products which were supplied or the system which was supplied was not up to the mark and did not perform. Eventually, if you see the previous installation which happened before the subsidies and the tender came, was the customers were actually not very sure about the product and the technology. The local installers or the very mom and pop or the electricians used to buy the products from the panels from outside, and then they used to assemble at the rooftop of the customer. And in due course of time, it never used to work. So the customers were complaining that the system doesn't work, the technology doesn't work. So it took us some initial time for spreading that awareness that technology, system, everything works if you do it in a better way. And I think subsidy that in the market actually helped a lot in that, because the government fixed the technology norms and they also fixed the other stakeholders skin in the game by putting tenders through and by giving subsidies to vendors, etc. But on having said that, because the prices and other things were so low and the payments and other and the subsidy disbursements were so delayed, it actually affected the entire chain, because it affects your working capital for each individuals. Nobody can afford to have so much of capital stuck with any discoms. And by the time it used to come, you are already dried with the funds and the subsidies are not available. So many players used to face that challenge, which I think by having this national portal, things should get resolved. And if it comes out to be uniform all across, that will eventually even put you can have a acceleration pedal can be enhanced, So that's what I believe in with this national portal coming up.
Thanks, Shobhit. I have some more questions, follow-up questions on how you're ensuring system quality and all. But before I come to that, I think Vineet's a very important point has been raised by Shobhit and Gaurav here, that, you know, the module prices are increasing because of its system sizes, system price is increasing overall. And then people are more aware about the better technology product, high wattage module. So as domestic manufacturers, what is your take on this? How do you think will domestic manufacturers will be able to cater to this demand? And what has been your experiences in this specific segment?
So pricing, prices increasing, and first of all, thank you for the webinar and inviting me. Sorry, prices falling or going up is a temporary phenomenon. I think that is going to be there for any market for mass adoption. And whatever pricing increase or decrease we talk about, and if we just for the sake of comparison, if we even think of the prices that we are seeing in India, which is like if it was 40 rupees, now it is 50 rupees, still it is about 60 cents per watt peak. Maybe 65 you consider, after subsidy you might consider half a dollar, so 50 cents, wherever there is subsidy available. I'm pretty sure people are able to install 40 rupees or 35 rupees or things like that. The prices in the US market are about $4, $3.5 to $4. So it's like close to 7-8 times more than what we have in India. So and still, I don't think their tariffs are 7-8 times higher. It's almost similar to what we have here. It is more about the awareness factor, which was discussed earlier. People are more aware about installing solar, and slightly then becomes a mass movement. Like in a society, if 3 people took an initiative to put up a rooftop on their bungalow, then the rest of the 20 people might do it one by one. They first of all look at the real benefits, and the last 5 people will put the solar just for the sake of it, because they have to remain in the same community and to be at equal with the others. And obviously, you are losing out on certain benefits of not doing solar. In terms of pricing again, so definitely prices have increased after the BCD implementation. Cell prices, module prices increased. Although the Indian cell manufacturers are not affected because they are buying the wafers, but globally, almost all the commodity prices increased. The rest of the BOM material, apart from the cell, and even the wafer prices generally have increased a lot, starting from polysilicon. So that has decreased the demand in the first 2 quarters from April till August, September. And it has, I think, been the trend for most of the previous years. Now, slowly, gradually, with the tenders coming in, subsidy being in place already, and the prices being stabilized, more importantly, now people are aware that now we can go solar. The EPC companies have started pushing for the project again, because now it's a clarity that prices are not going to increase much further. And then comparing with the high efficiency modules, what we talk about the monopole, half cut, and everything, which are still not available in India, and then the non-subsidy market, which was discussed earlier by Gaurav and Shobhit. So definitely people are comparing, and they are ready to install monopole even without subsidy, because practically it's a one-time installation and a lifetime of earnings. So there are so many customers who are aware of the long-term benefits and not worrying about immediate capex that they put in. The main worry is to extract more kilowatt on the rooftop, because most of the states allow you maximum capacity available on the roof. So it's not linked to the connected load, not about 50% of the load or things like that. Generally, I mean, at least in Gujarat, there is no upper limit how much you want to install solar. You can install as much you want, you consume whatever you have, and then you export to the grid. So it's like a process. So people want to install maximum amount of solar. To do that, they will do innovative ways of roofing. They will go for the elevated roof structures. Sometimes those are even risky at times in terms of safety. And then overlooking the concept of maintenance that you require to clean the panels over the years, but still people go for elevated roof, which is almost inaccessible, just to make sure that you have those extra kilowatts on the roof. So I think this pricing is still a temporary phenomena, but even with this pricing, by the end of the year, when we see our reports in the next year, April quarter, you will tell us that this number has surpassed the previous years. I'm pretty sure that numbers will keep on increasing. We are still a very small market compared to the capacity we have in India, I mean the population we are having in India. Again, comparing to the US market, which we try to follow, it's about 4 to 4.5 gigawatt previous year of only residential solar market in 2021. This year, that figure is supposed to be crossing maybe 6 gigawatt. And these figures are coming when they are buying solar at $3.5 to $4 per watt peak. We are still at half a dollar, $0.6. This year is expected to be about say about 2 gigawatt, which is still a decent number compared to the previous years. I mean, this is our assumption that with the Gujarat 1 gigawatt tender and the other states coming in, Kerala, Rajasthan, Tamil Nadu, we are selling a lot of modules in those markets apart from Gujarat. Even Maharashtra has picked up the national portal very well. So we believe that it's going to be 2 gigawatt. The government target was, I think, 4 gigawatt in terms of the subsidy availability. But even a 2 gigawatt market is decent enough for future growth, which in the next year we expect it to be anywhere between 3.5 to 4 gigawatt. Just 1 minute more here. What we are seeing in terms of change is that developers are now putting solar on their own as a additional feature in their real estate. So it's not only about the adoption of solar for the existing households, but the new developments, definitely there is clear intent to put solar on day one and offer it as an additional service or an additional product in the offering. Because when you're buying the 1 crore, 2 crore of household or even more than that, then maybe 2 lakhs, 3 lakh rupees more put up on the solar doesn't really care. They don't really care because the cost in this per square feet is almost negligible. So the adoption is actually going to be much faster without worrying on the pricing.
Thanks, Vineet. I have one more follow-up question on this. As you have said, you're expecting 2 gigawatt for next year in this segment. And given the ALMM issue that is plying, I think, do you think domestic manufacturers will have that much supply available to even cater to this segment, which I don't think a lot of utility scale developers would be, tying up absolute capacities of all the leading manufacturers. What is your take on this? And probably, Shobhit, Gaurav, you can also, what steps you are taking to combat this kind of a situation?
So the developers who are tying up with the manufacturers is purely for the monopole modules, half cut and larger format modules, which are not possible to manufacture in the existing lines for us. Anyone out like us who have a who had and we still have these poly lines of 335 and whatever. So in that sense, the capacities are segregated. It is more about the availability of Indian cells to make these DCR modules for the subsidy market. Wherever there is a non-subsidy market, but just the net metering requirement, if there is an ALMM restriction, then you just need to be registered with the ALM, with which we see almost 20 gigawatt plus of manufacturing is already registered in the ALMM. So that is ample space for the non-subsidy market module availability. And when I'm saying 2 gigawatt, this is just the total number, whether it is subsidy or non-subsidy, as per our internal forecast. But I think still the availability of polycrystalline modules is there. Jupiter and other companies are still making poly modules and poly cells, from which we are able to make cell and module DCR panels. So, and definitely as a price market that we are, people still want to go for poly. One is the subsidy availability because of being DCR, and second is the difference in price of poly and monopole, and the overall project cost becomes cheaper. So the EPC companies find it slightly easy to sell poly, which is still a good product to be. There is nothing wrong in that. It's only a question of evolving technology. Wherever there is certain limitations of space, it's good to have monopole, which there are certain residential customers who prefer to do. But more importantly, the upfront pricing on the larger market with the smaller and upper middle class segment, they still go for poly, and I think it's still good enough capacity to supply this 2 gigawatt of modules.
Right. So Gaurav, is that the case? Is residential market still mostly on poly, or you are seeing a shift towards monoPERC now in your recent installations?
See, of course, there comes a stage when everyone has to draw a cost-benefit analysis, and each and every consumer does that internally. Of course, we have noticed that awareness about the monoPERC modules has come up significantly, but monopoc is also coming up at a cost. And that is a very big cost differential for people to consider, and no subsidy that is available. There are talks about a mono TCR panel coming in into the market. A lot of developers and module manufacturers have started shifting their lines towards monopoc TCR modules. So that is also might aid the people who want a better product or who want a better technology going forward. But as Vineet very rightly mentioned, the poly market is not going away anytime soon. And the capacities across the domestic manufacturers was primarily for poly and polycrystalline modules that are 335 watt peak or 330 watt peak. And that will continue to be there. However, having said that, there is also a point that even the poly prices have gone up significantly. If I talk about not even a time period of 8-9 months, the poly prices have shot up about 20 to 25% in just arbitrary numbers, and that is something that even the market comes back to question us that those are domestic cells, those are domestic modules, and everything is made in-house. Then why are we increasing or saying that the BCT has an impact or any other impacts are there? So these questions do come us from the consumer side. That is also a good sign that consumers are more aware and reading the news of what is happening, but also keeps us in a tricky place because right now the difference right now at as of today, the difference between poly DCR and mono non DCR is not that high. There is a very marginal difference available in the market right now, and mono non DCRs are easier to install. We can purchase in bulk quantities, and there is not a linkage with subsidy. So we also prefer installing with mono DCR because in the end, it is a better technology, it is a better product, and it is beneficial for the consumers. It is giving them a better efficiency, it is giving them a better utilization of the space. But a lot of our consumers are price sensitive as a market. India has and will always be a very price sensitive market. So our hope or our request to all the module manufacturers, domestic manufacturers, to maintain the price parity between poly modules and the mono DCR modules so that there is a clear demarcation and a substantial benefit in terms of technology or cost saving that we can as developers offer to our consumers. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Gaurav. So we need one more question. I think as a domestic manager, is Navitas also into installation of the residential business? Is that also one of the business segments for you?
Gujarat, we do residential. We just registered ourselves as a channel partner because we have a lot of dealers who want us to do that. I mean, so they do the marketing on our behalf and go to the market. In other states, majorly Maharashtra, we do non-subsidy residential.
Okay. So my next question is what we have heard. We have tried to get one more panelist on board for that discussion, but I think you guys must be aware, which is about the kits business that is there. So there are ready kits, 1 kilowatt, 2 kilowatt, 3 kilowatt systems that are there. And we are seeing via distributor channel network, this is what has been going on. So, you know, how the market, and I think we've seen Tata as a player there, which holds a majority share, even companies like Luminous and all, they have also come up with their kits kind of a business. So how that market is evolving, and you know, what your companies are doing differently, and to probably how you're bridging that gap between those extensive players and the small scale focus. Shobhit, maybe if you wish to. I don't want to put you tough spot anyone. If Gaurav, you want to answer, you can.
So Jyoti, typically, so I'll just add a couple of points in the previous one, then I'll jump to this.
Sure.
See, primarily what I see when we say that poly market in the country is primarily driven by the subsidy market. Consumers are now getting aware about this higher watt peak panels, and they do demand for it because it saves a lot of space for them as well. And if as Vineet Bhai also said that the roof is the primary constraint for most of the people. Roof area is the primary constraint. So typically they want to utilize the maximum of the roof area, because that's not going to change for next 20-25 years either. So they want to put the highest watt peak panels, whatever available in the market, and whatever the best technology available in the market, they would like to have it. But having said that, since it is the subsidies are being governed by the DCR panels, which till now there are only handful of people who are now converting their poly DCRs to a mono DCR, which I think should soon would be coming. So I have seen a trend where the customers have started asking for the higher watt peak panels under the subsidy scheme, and they immediately ask if that can be provided. Unfortunately, since there's none as of now, so we have to go with the poly, and that's what it happens. So that is why I think poly panels requirements are there, but it is primarily driven as we move towards the mono DCR and it can be covered under subsidy. People will shift towards the higher watt peak panels, and the differential is also not that high if you compare with the kind of value they will drive it for the next 20-25 years. So that will effectively one-time cost would give them much more value than it would have been with poly. So that was for the previous one. Second, now coming back to your question about kits, which so these kits are, if you see that there have been players who have been supplying the kits to their partners who can go and install it. But these are primarily small system kits which are being supplied as of now. So there are players who are doing good, like Tata, you said, is one of them who are supplying the kits. But from the scalability perspective and other things, I think that is what it would be needed in future as well, where we can, the volume we are trying to have, the structures and the design of the roof becomes more and more challenging. The more we can customize and then treat this residential market as a retail market. I think initially we were also discussing, Abhinav was pointing out this fact that this business has to become a kind of a retail market. As of now, it is more very consultative business. And that is why for everyone, not just for us, everyone, the cost of getting customer is very high, because you go and explain and educate him, and then it takes a lot of time for him, and it is not a primary thing for him to buy. So, and it is not the necessity as of now. It's a good thing to have, but not a necessity for them from the customer's perspective, because they are getting power. That's why they used to wait for subsidies. They used to delay their purchases, and currently also that's why they look forward. So from the retail perspective, I think it's gonna be one of the things which will keep on happening, and many players would also start trying the same thing. But having said that, those kits will also limit, because the customization part, the capacity part, which customers are asking for it as of now, may get compromised as well. So customers, there will be a mix of both the things from the uptake perspective as of now. But having said that, retail market has to be driven through as a retail market where people can buy and install it much faster than as of now. The cycle for everyone is between 45 to 2 months as of now, because net metering and other things also takes a lot of time, and installation and customizations also take time. So if this cycle can be reduced to maybe 10-15 days or 20 days, maybe that will really impact and boost the entire consumer residential market as well.
Thanks, Shobhit. Gaurav, you have anything to add on?
Yes. Specifically on the kit business. So historically, or if I see the past trend, bearing Tata for a side, a lot of these kits were primarily off-grid kits as well, where in fact with the lead acid battery and an inverter, which is sort of like a lead acid hybrid inverter, you give us 2 panels and some other BOS items, and it becomes a very good value add for a consumer that is otherwise buying a normal inverter or a non-solar inverter. So a lot of these push for the kits, or the concept of kits came out with that concept, because a lot of that had to do with the policy initiatives as well, because the GST for inverters was much higher, and a GST for a solar power generating system before was much lower. So a lot of these kit installers started coming up. Now, when I talk about kits, or when I talk about any form of plug and play models, what needs to be done is standardization. And every industry needs to follow its curve to go towards that standardization. And I think residential solar industry is slowly moving towards standardization right now. And that will only happen when enough people have installed solar and enough developers have installed solar to know that there are only 10, 12, or maybe 15 variations that are possible, and try and standardize them as much as possible so that as a developer, we can also install projects that are much faster and a better quality. And as a consumer, they can also get a project delivered to them very easily because the cables, everything are standard and fixed. The problems that we face right now is that it is in the end going to a consumer's house. And every residential solar or every residential consumer is very attached to their house. They would come up, go to their roof and say that, okay, I want a cable coming from this direction. I want my panels to be at this height, one panel to be at that height, one panel to be at this height. So this becomes a very high contact sales. And whenever there's a very high contact sales, standardization takes time. But as an industry, I think all the developers that I've taken feedback from are becoming slowly rigid and rigid that, okay, we cannot offer this much customization. This is what we have. Whether you want it, take it. If you don't want it, we are sorry. Because in the end, to keep on convincing a customer multiple times becomes a hassle. So, cutting in summary, I truly believe that converting this type of business into a retail friendly business, wherein you have standard kits available in the market and there are specific system integrators or technicians or installers that can come up and fix that for you. Something like how TVs are installed now, that and separate 2 or 3 people team can come in, install and plug and play the model, fix it, and you're out of the house in 2 to 3 days. Or for solar, not for TVs particularly, because a third party comes in and install. Similarly, system integrators for all developers come and install solar with a standard design that is pre-decided at the time of ordering. That becomes quite easier, and I think that is where the industry is also headed now. So maybe in being very opportunistic, I think maybe 1.5 or 2 years down the line, we'll see more of this converted into a retail business than a consultative sales.
I think that makes sense because given the margins are shrinking, even you want to reduce on your BD cycle and all. But what about, you've talked about the lead acid basket. Is there a potential for solar plus storage, the battery storage component, lithium ion storage? Is that viable now, or do you foresee it will be viable in few years down the line? Any new trends that you're seeing in this market?
Of course, lithium ion batteries gives us a very nice advantage towards a fast charging and a fast discharging cycle. And we have established a few commercially viable cases as well, where we are able to provide a solution that is giving them energy and storage, not at very large scale levels, but at domestic or mid-sized customer segments. Of course, the cost of batteries is much higher. And if we talk about electricity trends, if a storage solution is only viable when there is a lot of power outages and the grid is unstable. But what we want to believe in, and we truly believe in, is that this grid unavailability will always go towards an increasing uh, trend, or a trend that keeps getting better. So the grid outages going forward will keep on decreasing or follow a decreasing trend. However, the alternative that we want to capture is not the grid electricity. With storage, what we want to capture or what we want to replicate is people who would otherwise use diesel gensets or any other formats of non-renewable sources for power backup. And slowly and gradually, if there's a perfect case that is available, the energy storage plus solar system can give you a better capacity utilization or a better cost per unit rate compared to a diesel genset. And of course, the trend over there is also that diesel prices will keep on increasing going forward. So it is just about a matter of speed. And similarly, if I talk about electric vehicles, and you see as an industry, electric vehicles have also started picking up a bit. The reason is always similar, that the cost of car is coming down, the cost of a vehicle is coming down, but the cost of maintaining or running that car is continuously going up. Similarly, the cost of buying a diesel genset may come down, but continuously replenishing it with diesel to generate power or any other fossil fuel to generate as a backup power will keep on going up. And the storage prices will follow a decreasing trend. So obviously, there is one thing that is increasing, one thing is that is declining. We are all of us as in the industry are waiting for the sweet spot when we are able to offer a very nice commercially viable solution that is price effective and that can easily fix the problem the consumer needs.
Right. So to summarize, basically on case-to-case basis, it can still be viable, right? Especially in case of diesel abatement that is there. But it's not going to be a standard kind of a trend on a case-to-case basis. So
It
let
will
me...
become. That is what I'm saying, that it will become in the future.
Right. Gaurav, I think some questions are dedicated to you in the Q&A box, if you can answer them in parallel. But I think my question is to Abhinav, you now. So we have seen that, everyone is talking about standardization of these products that will happen in 1 year, 2 year down the line. So as part of World Bank facility, the new facility that you are building on, is that also part of the scope? Is batteries also part of the scope for that residential rooftop solar system?
Yes, thanks, Jyoti, for this question. So, residential solar, rooftop solar in all formats with battery storage is part of the program. Yeah.
Okay. So I think we have another 5 minutes, and I want to just have a concluding, comment from your side. And basically, I want you, and we can take a pause for a few seconds to identify. But what is the biggest challenge that, as per you, the sector is facing? I think one each we can discuss, and what can be the possible solution to combat that challenge and to increase uptake in these installations? Anyone?
I have one point here. We are looking at the increase of installations, but the industry is not really able to come out ways for maintaining and cleaning the existing residential power plants. And this is also to go with planning in the right way so that the panels can be cleaned regularly. Particularly again talking about Gujarat because being the largest residential market, and we have seen all kinds of installations in the state, good, bad, ugly, good, bad, words, whatever name you give it, not in the right direction, panels not having enough structure support, I mean with very poor support. So quality issues are a very big issue, and then inaccessibility to reach the rooftop. These panels are being cleaned only during the monsoon when there is rain. Other than that, there is no manual or automatic cleaning systems that are deployed because again, automation will be a cost and people are not really ready to pay for that. And they might go for some sprinklers as a makeshift, but those sprinklers are not good enough in the long run. There is some scaling effects that happens when the water flows and dries on the panels. It's not wiped out clearly. So there will be scaling at the bottom of the panels at the edge. So then this hot spots issues come up, degradation becomes faster, and the overall sector gets a bad reputation that these things don't last long, which are not the case. They have been generating power for years in the larger power plants when there is dedicated maintenance team. So I think coming out with ways of cleaning and maintaining the existing solar power plants. And I think there will be independent companies who will be focusing only on this segment, where they would be offering cleaning as a service once a month, twice a month, maybe once in 2 months, or maybe just a health check on a routine basis and the cleaning done by the end user themselves. So there is a big scope of cleaning the existing residential solar market. Now the clusters are getting created. so that the EPC companies or the cleaning O&M agencies get multiple customers in the same locality, which was not the case earlier, and that's why the economics were not being set. So quality is a very big issue that is being encountered now with increasing installations. Also, with the increase in the number of channel partners, particularly in Gujarat, almost every electrical contractor wants to become a solar contractor, and getting empaneled is like a ticket to growth. And there is hardly any restrictions on becoming an empaneled agency in the Gujarat rooftop tender. So almost anyone and everyone is offering systems of the lowest possible quality just to get that pricing lowest and get the consumers. To the extent that they will only work on mandates and offer every product on a cost price without worrying on the maintenance and the profitability and the growth. So these are some few small peculiar issues. When there is growth in any sector, this sector will also see similar challenges. It's about time that there is intervention on the post-installation quality so that there is some kind of a benchmarking or review mechanism where the consumer gets to choose product from the people who are quality conscious and long-term oriented. Some form of scaling or ranking or numbering, maybe through Abhinavji's portal, where the installers get a rating. We were also trying to come out with certain metrics to review and give ranking or numbers to the quality based on the end user feedback, based on the generation data, based on many other factors. So few things, if there is an intervention from the government side, private sector as opportunity, will be very good to go in the long run for the sector.
True, Vineet, very relevant points, I must say. First, to ensure the system, the equipment quality is good, the installation is right, and then once the system is set up, how to make that system keep on functional for next few years, for I think 25-year period. So that is there. Gaurav, any concluding remarks from you?
Most of it has already been covered. I just want to stress upon the fact that as a trend that what we have been seeing in the market from our consumers is that as and when the consumers are getting more aware, they just don't want the basic solar plan that is available in the market. They always peg themselves against the neighbor or against anyone else to get a better product or a more advanced product. So we at Homescape Solar are always trying to, make our products more aesthetically pleasing, more space utilization, giving structures that are not just looking good, but also have an aesthetic value attached to it. And like Vineet ji very rightly mentioned, that a lot of developers are adding solar to their developments or to their projects that are coming up to give them value added benefits, that this plant is not just coming up this residential complex has solar inbuilt. So when you buy a house, you get solar along with it. And when a development is made, the differentiation is on the aesthetics. A major part of that differentiation is aesthetics and the build quality. So that is also essential, and our experience in Gujarat has been that whenever a product is very price sensitive, then you cannot really focus more on aesthetics, and you have to really focus on getting the maximum juice out of the razor thin margins that you already have. But outside in the other states where we have our installations in, we have noticed that consumers really appreciate a better looking product that can also give them value add, such as they can utilize the space beneath it, or they can maybe construct a living area beneath it. And all these value adds or maybe all these perks really helps or aids the adoption of solar much faster, rather than having just a dish TV type of a structure or dish TV type of installation that is standard and looks the same across the board. So a little differentiation that each and every company is trying its hands on, and I'm sure Shobhit will also have the same feedback, because I've seen SunEdison also being very heavily bullish on these customized and better looking products as well. So over to you, Shobhit.
Yeah. Thanks, Gaurav. I think he is absolutely right, Jyoti, that's how we have been growing, and the players who are kind of quality conscious, they are operating in the places where we can provide much more value to the customer rather than just giving the product which may or may not run, but just being price sensitive. They are taking customer and just installing and running away. However, we at SunEdison have specially created and dedicated O&M team of about 200 people on ground just for this O&M purposes only, so that we can provide much more value to the customer. And whatever we commit at the beginning of the project before even installation, we are able to demonstrate to the customer that this is what we promised to you and this is what we deliver. Because as Vineet bhai also said, that people are just trying to take the project at much thinner margins and just do and get away. And then if you see that there are many players, it's not just us. Because of the low entry barriers, you just buy some panels from here and some products from outside market, and you go and cut structures, weld it without having the expertise of even welding. I've seen welders who do not have any formal training or anything they have done in the training welding per se, because welding is a very specialized job. If it is not done properly, it won't stand. So even when we put up a structure and as customized structures, we go through the complete testing of it on the stats, and then we get the structure certified as well, so that we ensure that whatever we deliver and the entire system rest on the structures. These panels comes with a 25 years of performance warranty. If these structures are not able to withstand or take the load of the panels for next 25 years, what is the use of the performance warranty of solar panels? Because you won't get the benefit of the system at all. So ensuring that the entire system, which including panels, cables, when you do it, because there is a very high DC voltage on the rooftop, which you run on a residential market as of now, until unless you use the micro inverters and other solar inverters, which are little or lower on the DC voltage. But otherwise, even a 5 kilowatt system would have about 600 volts of DC, which is very fatal. Many people don't know about it. So installing that and putting that on our rooftop, you need to ensure that the systems are installed in a very with all safety and everything, so that in future also you do not face any such issues. Instead of just buying a local cheap cables and then installing it, cutting it from here and there. When you do an earthing, you can't cut the wires. So if you're cutting the earthings here and there and then putting it joints everywhere, then it also puts your entire systems at risk, which most of the people are not aware of. So here and there, they cut corners. They may show you that they are giving the same panels and inverters. That's the only thing they people show. However, they cut corners at all other places wherever possible. So, but as Gaurav also said, and we said, this is a very strong push is needed. Involvement is needed where you deliver what you promise to the customer. Will actually create a big impact, and it's a society, and everybody does a good job. Then the market will also open up further. If few people do a bad job, the people that will pull down the market as well. So as a society, we need to do, because we are working for a larger goal of climate change and other things. So if we all do a good job, we all will rise, because the market potential is very high.
Right, Shobhit. I think with the increasing awareness, these things are going to streamline going forward. And I think, Abhinav, you also have a lot of inputs from installers who are active in this space for your new credit line. But any concluding remarks from you?
Yeah, thanks, Jyoti. Just responding to your previous question. So I think it's largely around the awareness. So, like if the consumer awareness could be increased, that could be, like that remains one of course, the awareness has been increasing, but in my perspective, it is still one of the areas which needs further work, and perhaps through the distribution-led model where, like in the phase 2 scheme of MNRE, I think they've rightly positioned DISCOMs to spearhead this program. So at least from the awareness aspect, discoms could continue to take the lead. And then, like while the other panelists, they discussed other aspects to ensure the quality and, like the moving from tendering to national portal and all those elements can come together to kind of, increase or accelerate the adoption of rooftop solar in residential. And of course, along with the concessional line of credit. Just wanted to make a final point. If there are in the participants, if there are like other developers who have some pipeline in the sense that they are looking for financing, they can share that with me, because we are currently engaging with SBI and like kind of understanding the pipeline which exists. So if there are any such information from the participants, it would be really helpful. Thank you. Back to you, Jyoti.
Great, great. So I think all the developers, installers who want to reach out to Abhinav, they can reach out to him directly. Abhinav, if you want to share your email ID over the chat box here, that will be good. But I think clearly the discussion has been wonderful. The market has just started growing in India, this segment, and undoubtedly there is a huge potential that is need to be tapped. Thank you to all the panelists today for sharing such wonderful, enriching insights. Thank you to the attendees also for joining us for this webinar. The recording of the session will be available on our website shortly. Have a good day. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Jyoti. Thanks, Kumar.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.